Welcome to episode 2 of our image classification series. In the last episode, we gathered and linked our data set. Now it's time for us to prepare that data for training. And in this episode, we'll dive into two essential steps which include labeling and preprocessing. So in this episode, we'll be labeling and processing our data, our images we've gotten, using a very few line of code, just a few line of code in our TensorFlow. So to label our data sets and preprocess it, there are two methods which includes automatic and manual. For the automatic, we can usually use image data generators, we can use image folders, or we can use this TF data sets. But for this tutorial, I'll be using image data generator, which makes use of Keras library. So the three lines of codes include this, and this. The first line of code, this is it, the first line of code. This is the second line of code, and this is the third line of code. Each line of code has a function, what they do. So for example, this first line of code, which is from TensorFlow.Keras Preprocessing, it actually imports the image data generator class from TensorFlow. It's a very powerful tool. It actually helps us to automatically process our images and also even do some data augmentation to improve our model's performance. The second line of code, which you've seen here, is also very important. It helps us to create our image processor. Once we create our image processor, we write a line of code. Automatically, our image processor is created, and it can help us to define some few variables which will be inside the brackets. These brackets can take some arguments, which include rescale, rotation size, rotation range, zoom range, rotator flip, partition split, and lots more. So what does this rescale does? Rescale actually always recommended that once we specify this or define it in our line of code, we should actually specify our rescale. And rescale actually is actually from a value of 0 and 1, and always recommended. So rotation, zoom range, and the rest of them are optional. So, but for rotation, what it actually does is that it randomly rotates some images up to 30 degrees, helping our model to generalize a bit loss much better. And for our zoom range, it's help us to zoom into some images like randomly. We can term it as maybe another form of augmentation. So these ones are optional, so we will not be dwelling much in them. So in the third line of code, third line of code is train data equal to data gen and the rest of it. What it actually does is loading of our images. We load our images from a folder, and then the image generator will automatically label them based on their subnames and then subfolder names. So what we must specify here is the path to our folder. It's a must, we must specify this, we cannot skip it. So this actually points toward the main folder that should contain our subfolder for each class. For example, like this, our tutorial, we already have two subfolders, which are cats and dog. So we actually specify the main folder, which contains the two folders for the cat and the dog. We can also specify, it's recommended that we specify the target size, the batch size also, and then we can also specify the class mode, whether use binary or we're using categorically. So it is highly recommended that we specify the class mode. We use binary if we have just two classes, but if we have the classes are greater than 2, maybe our folders are like our subfolder are like 5 or 6. We have like cat folder, dog, sheep, rat, goat. We can specify categorically. But if we have just 2, which is 0 and 1, we can use binary. So this subset, because the training also used to specify that it is training or validation. So it's also recommended, but it's not a must that we must actually place this. So to wrap up, we actually loaded our images, we labeled them automatically, we processed them and augmented them, and also prepared badges for training. And in the next episode, we will use our train data to begin building and training our model. So we'll be looking deeper details of how to go about it. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more video in our next episode. My name is Chidi once more. have a blessed time.